Hey everyone, and welcome to Lety Does Phoenix Resurrection, Issue 1, or The Return of Jean Grey, Part 1. However you want to count it. So I don't know if you guys can see, but this issue is actually with the lenticular cover, so it's fancy, 3D. But yeah, so comic video, haven't done one of these in a while, very exciting. But I'll be getting more into that later. As for right now, I'm going to be talking about Phoenix Resurrection, which is a storyline that just came out recently about the return of Jean Grey, who, for those of you that don't know, she's been dead for quite a while in the Marvel Universe. Well, adult Jean Grey has been dead for a while. Young Jean Grey was brought back from the past to the future by Hank McCoy, and she's been alive, but that's super confusing, and that character is actually who I'm dressed as today because I love her so much and she's super cool. But yeah, pretty much the entire story is just gonna be Jean Grey returning and what implications it would have for the Marvel Universe, and I'm pretty excited about it. So for those of you that want me to talk more about the issue, you can stay to the end of this video, but otherwise, let's get started. Also forgot to mention, if you want to enter a raffle for a digital copy of this comic, you should stay around for after this video as well. So yeah, now let's get started. Ooh, mood lighting situation change. Anyway, our story begins with these two kids from New York just minding their own business and riding their bikes down the street when all of a sudden they come across a dead person. But then the dead person suddenly starts to get up and says, "Fooorrrever weep," backwards. And of course, these kids are really freaked out when all of a sudden a redheaded girl comes and offers them a dead pigeon to play with. When they reject, she throws the dead pigeon into the air, when it bursts into flames and multiplies, and she is suddenly floating in the air and telling them to watch out, and she is now chasing them. So 2 hours pass, and the X-Men Gold team show up and are asking officials what had happened and where the children are. Rachel Grey starts to feel really bad and she gets a nosebleed, so Kurt decides that it's probably better if she sits down for a moment. They ask the law officials if they can talk to the children when they're out of the hospital. They say that they're not in the hospital and that it's a really weird situation. Then they go to see, and the two children are floating in the air with their head bleeding. So some time passes, and Kitty Pryde arranges a meeting with the X-Men to kind of try to figure out all the weird shit that's going on. And she's also invited Hank McCoy to try to give some explanation as to all the weird findings that they've had. Hank goes on to say that Cerebro had picked up something other than a mutant signal, and it was a new type of reading that they'd never seen before, which led them to go find the kids, who were floating just a little bit above the ground and bleeding profoundly from the heads, but there was no wounds. So Kitty goes on to say that they have no idea what's going on, and because of this, they are going to be sending out some teams to 3 other locations that they had found. One in Manhattan, one in France, and one at the North Pole. So with no time to waste, Kitty and her team go investigate the former Hellfire Club, while the X-Men Blue team goes to France, and the Weapon X team goes to freeze their ass off at the North Pole. But of course, since even research needs to be as difficult for the X-Men as possible, they discover that there are some Hellfire guards waiting for them in the shadows, while the X-Men Blue team is faced with Mellencamp, and the Weapon X team has to face the worst villain of all, Wolverine! Dun dun dun! And then there's fighting. Lots of fighting. Looks like some neck biting from Jubilee, who says that the Hellfire Guard are not human, because that's the only way she knows how to check for that. Fighting, more punching, some shooting, more fighting, but as soon as the X-Men start to get the upper hand, all of their enemies suddenly disappear. And simultaneously, they all look up and see a blinding light in the sky. We then cut over to see a random waitress looking at the same blinding sky, to where she sees it's in the shape of the phoenix. She's then joined by her fellow waitress, Jean, who happens to be a redhead and looks very much like Jean Grey, and then she proceeds to say that she has never seen that shape in her life. The two of them decide to go back to doing their jobs rather than looking at the blinding sun, and head back inside of the diner. They try to explain to their coworker that they saw a giant bird in the sky, and she tells her to go do her job and take her table's order. To where we see that Banshee is looking over the menu and having a very hard time deciding what he wants. Gina's had a long day at work with a bunch of weird events, so she heads home to her church and goes to feed her bird when her parents confront her, and she tries to tell them about the weird day she's had and how she really just wants to go lie down. Her parents guilt trip her and say, well, you can go tell your guest that dinner is canceled. And of course she forgot, because the one that's standing at the door is none other than Cyclops. The dead Cyclops, who brought her flowers. And that is the end of issue 1. Did you like that story, Shaggy? Aw. Okay, lights on. And with the magic of video editing, I now have clapper lights. Anyway, so I liked the issue. Well, there were some things I liked and some things I disliked, I suppose. The first one being, this is beautiful. It looks incredible. The art for this is just really well done, and I think everyone looks so cool. And the artist for this one is actually, I can't say his name, Lionel Francis Yu, and he's the same artist as Hickman's Avengers and some of the new Avengers, so he already has some cred, and I really like how his style is more like realistic looking versus kind of the pop arty look that we've gotten in some of the more recent X-Men comics. And I thought the writing was pretty solid. I think it's kind of interesting. Thus far, the writer is going to be Matthew Rosenberg, and I think after this issue, he's going to be writing exclusively for Marvel, and it'll be good to see someone take on such a major title like Jean Grey, especially since the recent loss of Brian Michael Bendis, and then a couple years back, Tom King, so it'll be nice to see someone else's name kind of fill up the pages. But as for the story itself, I gotta say I have absolutely no idea what is going on whatsoever. Even having read some of the previous comics, like, if you were to pick this up without any previous comic book knowledge, you'd probably still be just as confused as me with comic book knowledge. Everyone's alive! Jean Grey's alive! Wolverine's alive! Banshee is alive? I'm assuming it's Banshee, because the way that they wrote his dialogue, they wrote it with an accent of, I think it's, what does he say? I'm good, lass, just trying to make up me mind here. And he's Irish, I think. So, he's introduced as Mr. Cassidy, and Banshee's real name is John Cassidy. So, I assume it's Banshee. But Banshee's dead. And you'd probably know him as the guy that is able to fly by screaming in X-Men First Class. But, he's dead. And he's been dead. And also, so has Mellencamp. He's been dead for a while, too. And it's funny that Wolverine showed up, because he's not technically dead. He's technically barely, in his coming back stage after a couple years, but he was dead, so I have no idea what's going on. These weird, kids floating things with their head bleeding, as far as I know, isn't someone's mutant power to just leave someone in a stasis, bleeding without any injury? So, I don't know what's going on here, but the concept does look interesting. It was nice seeing Cyclops again, especially after the last time we saw, like, actual Cyclops. It was Death of X. No, technically that wasn't him. Flashback in Death of X. I don't know. That's really confusing, but young Cyclops is still alive, so either everyone's coming back, or I'm really confused, but I don't necessarily know what's going on. They're just showing all these dead characters again, so I hope that the next issue will give me a little more clarity as to what the hell is going on, and how exactly the Phoenix is going to return, and I guess why Jean Grey is completely oblivious, but we will see. So yeah, that's pretty much the issue. If you guys liked my little summary of this, and if you want to get the full experience of everything, because I kind of cut the words out and summarized it my own way, I suggest you go buy the comic at your local comic shop. You know, support your local comic shop, support Marvel Comics. If you don't have a comic shop near you, you can go to Comixology.com. I think that's where they're selling it. Buy an issue there. And the cool thing about when you buy a physical issue is that the physical copy comes with a free digital copy as well. And I'm gonna actually be giving away mine right now, so you can enter for my raffle to win a digital copy of this book, as well as my Jean Grey photo set from a couple months back, by going to my website LetyDoesStuff.com and checking out my giveaways tab, and you can see if you will win there. So yeah, that's basically it for this issue. And talking a bit more about this whole new setup, I'm back to doing comic book videos. It's been literally almost a year since I've done my last one, so I'm pretty excited. And it's gonna look pretty different than my first couple when I did Death of X, where I was just super stressed out making them because it would take so much time, and I would literally go panel by panel and like summarize each page. And you know, some of you told me that you appreciated that, but mostly it just felt kind of unnecessary and overboard, and it would take me forever to edit. So got a new setup. Right now I'm just kind of summarizing more of what I'm reading, so basically I'm just gonna be giving you my internal thoughts as I'm reading it. And now I got my comfy little chair. Got a comfy little shaggy that may or may not be in all of my videos, rather than me just literally standing in this corner for 2 to 3 hours filming and then trying to cut it down to a 20-minute video. So yeah, this is my new format. I'm pretty happy with it thus far, but let me know what you guys think. I would really appreciate the feedback, because I'm definitely looking forward to doing more of these, and I know I can do at least the Phoenix Resurrection story. I already have number 2 here and written, and I'm going to be filming that right after this. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your feedback, and that's pretty much all I got for you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and for those of you that had originally watched me for my comic videos in my last channel, I applaud you if you still stuck around, because it's been pretty much an entire year, but I told you I would eventually get back to doing comic videos. And for those of you that have just found me for my comic videos, hi! Welcome! Let me know. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! Oh, hey everyone! Thank you so much for watching this video.
If you like the intro, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the search button up there. Or you can check out some of my videos right here. And you can find the latest news with my Patreon by working at that video down there.